Welcome back to Nightingales Motorcycles, Metal Finishers and Restorers. A few things today we're going to do. We're going to go back over something we did last video, have a look around the workshop at a couple of things which are going on at the moment, and then a little top tip again may help you. We'll go and have a look now at the bench. Right, so we're on another workshop tip. And remember, as I said before, you know, I haven't discovered the wheel. Many of you may have been doing this, things I do, but we're showing people who haven't done it. It doesn't have to be for your motorcycle parts. It could be car restoration, some at home you're working on. But the last, about three times ago, I did this one where we made up a plastic solution, which was for nothing out of old CDI boxes, and it turned into this plastic weld. How much do I use this? Every other week. How much do I use this new one I'm going to show you? Every week for something. Now, where this can be good for is if you've damaged a fairing or anything, and you're trying to bond it back together, and you've got a lovely piece of paintwork, and you're trying to keep it nice, and you want to put it together and weld it together a bit simpler. Now, in the workshop, I'll probably have 5 or 6, usually American, different types of sealers and bonding agents. So we can have like your JB welds, or we can have a marine weld, aluminium weld, casting welds, magnesium welds, and then we come on to like your Araldite. It's all for different things. But as I say, years ago I made this one because I was a TV engineer, and we're going back a good 42 years now. And why I used to use this, if you haven't watched any videos yet, is when you used to put your cassette tapes in your VHS and you cracked them with shoving them in on the cartridge. We used to use this to repair them because they're expensive items. So the next thing we used to do, the white cogs at the side, which I have actually built water pumps up with this as well, cogs, as an emergency get out. But for panels as well, this is great. So I think the first thing I'll show you is how I make it. You've got this at home already, so that's the biggest thing. So all you do is get a measuring jug, and the trade name or commercial name for it is cyanoacrylate, right? Cyanoacrylate. Now, to you, that's super glue, right? But super glue, them didn't say it was super glue. It was cyanoacrylate in a bottle like that. And that's what we used. So that's all them years ago. So super glue. So the thing is with super glue, and you'll have this many times, it's fantastic for sticking your fingers together and you go like that. But sometimes when you hold a part on, it either goes brittle or it doesn't take to it, or you're holding it and you think it's 20 minutes or half an hour. So we have to put an activator in it. So the thing is with cyanoacrylate, super glue, and without going into any chemistry, I'm just telling you how to do this for pennies, right? Is what we do first is we just get a bit of a measuring cup, and what you're going to put in, you'll probably have some of this at home, is bicarbonate of soda powder. So into a measuring jug, and all I'm going to put into here is 20 ml. That's it. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to fill that up with some warm water. And the reason warm water is I'm going to add to that 40 ml of water. So 40 and 20, right? The reason the warm water, we'll just mix it up and it'll dissolve it. When it dissolves it, you've made it up. Now the reason we're making that amount is you can buy these bottles off the internet, little spray bottles, like little perfume bottles, misting bottles they call them. And they're about £3 for 5, 10, something like that. So what we're going to do is, when you've poured your water in there, 20 and 40, when you stir it down, it'll make up approximately 50 ml, which one of them is. So when you've stirred it, the warm water just dissolved it. So fantastic, right? So right then, so what we'll do next is I'll make a damage on a part and I'll show you how we repair it. So we'll take a side panel, I'll make a cut in it, right? So this could be a fairing on your bike. You might have a bit of nice paintwork here. So what I'd suggest you do first is all you've got to do is either get a cotton bud with a bit of neutral detergent, which is washing up liquid, Again, bit of washing up liquid and put it in between and just clean it and clean just the sides of it. So with no alkaline to your paintwork, especially if it's a nice piece of kit, then what I'd do is I'd get a piece of foil tape, and the foil tape, I'd peel it back. And if you had nice, not like this is quite a scabby panel, but if it was a nice piece of fairing, let's just get our brakes. There we go. Right, I'd just put a bit of foil, silver foil, over that brake like that. Then what I ain't going to do, my main thing, as long as I can get behind it, I'm not worried. So the thing is, we're making this up, the difference in the speed and the bonding. Now, when you say about your fingers stick together, again, without going into the technical data, how we can make this even better and using it home, how you'll start using this in the motorcycle garage or at home even more. Because what's happening is, super glue loves moisture, right? Now, sometimes in this mixture, you could put a little bit of rubbing alcohol in, a flash of it, but we aren't going to bother. The only reason is it flashes off quicker, but not as fast as this. Is ridiculous how this works and the strength of it. So we've made a crack. So the next thing, an old bottle, plastic bottle, like Blue Peter this. So then all you do, if it's a plastic bottle like that, you just get a bit of sandpaper or anything and just scrape the side you're going to adhere it to. I'm just using a blade there. So I've got a bit of foil over the crack of it there. Going to get the super glue, cyanacrylate. I'm going to pour it on, but what I want to do is the piece of plastic I've got there, I just don't, you see, if you were doing this normally, you'd be dabbing it so gentle, because you know if you put a puddle of super glue on, it'll be there all bloody day waiting for it to go off. So, right, so we're going to put that on there, quite a good, and now that's soaked into the crack. So when you pull the silver paint off, you're not going to have that nice paintwork damaged. So what I'm going to do then is, I aren't misting this. The reason it's gone over each side of that is, I'm just going to push that straight on now, like that. So the super glue's at each side of that, coming out of it. Now that's your super, see how we always moving it around? So we just want a mist. A mist, not drenching it. It's a misting spray. So instantly now, when I come to that, rock hard. That quick, it's gone off. Right, it's a chemical reaction with the bicarbonate of soda. So it's just washing soda. It's just soda. So you've got that at home probably. Little misting bottle. You got your super glue. If you're doing restoration on your panels, and then we just pull this back. Just take a glove off. We'll just take this back. Show you the foil, what it's done to it. Get rid of these. The great thing about this is as well, what you can do is, when you pull this off, because the super glue has gone straight in. There we come. Best using foil. I know it's tight to get off, but it's worth it because you want the adhesion. And by using neutral detergent, you haven't used any alkaline on your paintwork. So that seam there now is filled. The one at the back, the piece of plastic on there, you can't believe how it is. And just to show you something else, I'll just get some super glue here and I'll put it on. And I mist that straight over. That's it. As soon as I go onto it now, rock hard, absolutely rock hard. If I do a bit separately and just put it on. Now a lot of wetting agents as well, what you can do is, the reason your hands stick together so quick is because you've got sweat and moisture, and it's the moisture. If I do a bit just like that, and still put super glue on it, it'll go straight off. What you'll find is if you've got a cog you're trying to build up and you're making an imprint, you can make it out of that and it instantly goes off. It's seconds. So it's your own made activator. You thought super glue was quick, but when you're doing panels or anything, and what you can do is, if you just like that little repair I've just done there, if you want to now, on that seam, you could go down that seam and kind of flood it. A spray, bang, it's gone off. And your repair's flush and it's concrete. You'd probably snap the panel before we break that. So we haven't discovered the wheel. As I say, I was using it all them years ago in cassette repairs in TV game. But one for home, it's a must in the workshop. I'm going to show you. I'll just show you one thing. The one we made up for your plastic repair, which I've just done today, I've just put a lug on a radiator fan housing. When I poured that bit of acetone into here and mixed this up, that was the consistency. That's it, how it comes out. What we'll do, we'll just leave that until we've done the rest of the video, and if I can remember, I'll come back and show you what that's like. So 2 products in the workshop, that costs you pennies, but it makes this product, you know, because we've all done it, you put it on and it's brittle. So you wonder how you can strengthen something up, and it's just amazing how it works. Simple chemistry in the workshop, and I'd say use that every week, guaranteed. There'll be something in restoration, a lug, something to put on. Or that black plastic one, which I did that repair with, is solid. Not only that, but that looks so finished, factory finish. When you do it round a stud, it's glossy the next day. Amazing. So we're going to move on to the next thing. So the next thing I'm going to cover is spoked wheels, painted. Now, I do loads of wheels, right? And the thing is, what you got to think is, when I first started doing the wheels more, it was mainly for off-road bikes, motocross bikes and some trials bikes. And then I got into some custom bobbers. So if, let's just say, an old bobber you've made out of an XV650 or whatever, and you look at the wheels and the rims are rusty, the spokes are second best, but there's nothing broken. So, but they look sad. So it's same with the trials. And the last couple of weeks, I've had a few photographs sent to me again saying, not from round here, from away, what can you do with these? So if you take what we'd usually do, so we'll take a TLR 200 wheel. So we get rid of the anodized, saying it was your Honda TLR 200, and we put it on a new rim, new stainless steel spokes, and then I've ceramic coated the centre lub in the centre, and so it's back together as a new wheel on a new build, or a customer wanting full concourse restoration. So the biggest question, I don't think people know when they ask me this, but they always send me a picture of the inner of this on your spoke nipples where your banding goes round. There's some horrendous finishes in here, corrosion of oxidization. And this could be on your bobber, a special build, especially on your trials bikes, a lot of water, moisture into it. So the first thing is, when I take a wheel in, I'm blasting this with ultrafine oxide right the way around. And then what I do then is, I'll probably give them a band sand on the inside, so you don't have to worry when you put your tapes back on. We've taken all the sharp edges off and I've smoothed it out. If it was really bad, then I'll put some gear in there on a metal fill and sand it down, not on top of the spoke nipple heads, obviously, but I can go one further. But 99% when you take the tyre off, they look horrendous. So this was a rusty wheel 5 years ago. It's just on the display counter, and we've kicked some new bearings in it. So your wheel comes in, I put it in a wheel jig, and first thing I do, I'll true it up. So, and if we have got a spoke out, I'll put a spoke in it, true it up and get it as straight as we can. Brilliant, off we go. Then I'll prep this wheel ready for ceramic coating. And if you're on a bit of a paper trail building your bobbers or your trials bike, you can see that being done in my blaster. You can see it in the next stage, and then as it goes for painting. Now, many people have powdered these over the years, and to be fair, you don't really get a second chance with powder, because obviously all the nipples round here, I'm just adjusting them up in the, chewed them all up, checked them. The good thing about ceramic coating is you can still just click them and adjust them if you've got a loose spoke. Not only that, obviously I do powder coating here. The ceramic finish, that looks a factory finish, right? It looks fantastic. And that was done in a satin black. I think I've done them in probably 4 or 5 colours. But I just think spokes wheels, because you think to yourself, how much will I save? Because you're not having to have the hubs Cerakoted, you're not having to have a set of new spokes, you're not having to buy a rim. And if you've got, say, a trials bike or a bobber or a custom thing you're building, when you put, I've had white wall tyres on these, or you put a new trials tyre on and you stand it and want to put some rim tapes around it, it's ceramic coating. It's running at about 625 centigrade, petrol resistant, brake fluid resistant, and I love the finish of this. And I think it looks, when it's done, they'll look factory, because I do spend a bit of time, because our media we're putting this back to is so ultra fine, and it's the right prep for ceramic coating. And we don't put primer on because we don't have the luxury of that. So time you tape them up and get your wheels back. So to give you some idea, to get them in, to chew them up, check them out, even kick your bearings out for you if you can't do it at home. Blast them, prep them, acetone them, gas them out. Ceramic coating of your colour. You can have them done for £100 each plus VAT, which when you get your wheels back and you look at it, you'll probably think to yourself, do you know what? I was going to leave it, but how it stands, I built the TLs we're building here, there's 2 models. And if I've got the model where we cut back a bit on expenditure, we'll have the anodized rims. So what I'm doing is say to someone, and it's faded and it looks a bit, and the spokes are rusty and this is all manky, why don't you have this? So it saves a lot of money. It's a get out of jail. The bobbers have looked fantastic with the white wall tyres on. And I always seem to think that if you stick to the satins or the black velvet, they look cool. The glossier you get, they can look a bit tacky. So that's just another thing we do in the workshop. So we'll move on to the next thing. So before we move on to some more interesting stuff in the workshop, I thought I'd go back on the last video where you saw a fiberglass tank coming in. It's a customer who comes in a lot with trials bikes, and it's a Merlin, a mag wheel one. I've got a sports one in there. So it's a mag wheel Merlin. Now, he bought it, and obviously I'd shown you fiberglass tank basically because I said I'd done a metal tank and a fiberglass tutorial how to repair them. The latter, the fiberglass, was less because sometimes there is a point of whatever happened in it, and you'll only know what I'm on about if you watch that video. And I went through my tank liners and sealers, but they're all good out there. You can use, as I say, there's only a couple which I don't like because I take many tank liners out which have failed. So what happened was I thought I'd carry on with this video because what I told you to do is what I'd do. I'd have a look underneath. You saw the patches, the petrol coming through, the leaks, there was some bubbles in here. So I thought I'd go one further and show what actually happened, and straight to the point, as if you was doing it at home with my sealer. So the first thing was when I got it into workshop, and this will be at home as well, and I always go to one particular tank because I seem to have them, so many of them of that era, back to an Honda 404. And if you get here in between your legs where you sit over your legs down in this corner, you can sometimes get the faint bubble in the paintwork. Now, you've got to remember, someone might have flashed that over previously, prior to you buying it, and he's filled it with a bit of filler because it's either had the dreaded tank liner put in it, or it's had some kind of seepage coming out of there. And what happens is it's sweated on the car filler and it's bubbled on you. So the thing is, you think it's a lovely paint job, and I've had many in, the yellows, the reds, the blues, and all you really want to do is knock that scab off, that blister, and have it painted in. But the trouble is, you take that blister off, unless you're unlucky, on that particular metal tank, because it could just be damp moisture under it, which is fantastic. But if it's down here, it sits in a dreaded seam, and I have done a lot of them, so I know. So what we had here when we come to this, this has been a fiberglass tank. Now we knew underneath, when I showed you on the first video, the last video, that it had been filled with car filling. It was wetting because I'd left it the full weekend with an alkaline, our Prep 1 in it, and it showed wetness round all these fillers. So we were going to have to take that off, because you can't just keep on burying something or it will fill. And remember, I actually painting this at the end of this. He's having this painted by a guy who does everything for him. And to be fair to him, they make a cracking job, and that's what they're into, painting tanks. You know, that's a full-time job. So what I did first, I took the material out, only gentle, because we were coming back down to the weave, the fiberglass weave. So I took that down, and I'd seen it was a relatively new filler, even dust around, so it had been blown in for sale. It was keeping the petrol out, but it was dripping slowly. The seams were good. So when you come do a visual inspection, like I've just been on about here on the Honda tanks, when you get the bubble, I had one here which was extra big, so I took it off, and as soon as I took it off, the membrane, the resin membrane at the back had gone, so I'm left with that. That's the structure of the tank, which had failed because it's covered in modern fuel, especially. So it's got the acrid brown look to it. So what I did then, I injected it, like I said I do, with a syringe, with our Prep 1, into every bit of this, into its pattern, right the way around, and I left it a day. I flushed it out, and then now I've done on the surface here a glass membrane. But what I did first is I just get a cap, because it was an inch, about 30 mils, say. I get a bit of membrane and I wrap it round there like that at the end of a little cup. I wet it, I pushed it through, I hold the sides, and I just pull it back out. So at least I've got the start of a backing, because I can't get my hands. This centre of this frame arch is there. I've got nothing to go. So it just gives me a bit. So I know when I come to the internal part of it, I'm solid. So what I did then is I took it down after 24 hours, and then I've resined it again. So on a close-up, though we start to looking a bit sad in the place. Now, the reason I've gone to all these were all blister marks, exactly like the one I'm on about on your tanks you can get. And the reason I've done that is I wanted to check behind every blister mark to see if there was anything else happening. There was only one on this tank, and it was this one, and it had gone. It had a really poor patch over it. So now, that's fantastic. So the next thing was, I started taking the filler out both sides. When I took it out, it was just gobbled up at both sides, laid up with a layer of fiberglass, and it started welting out. So what I did then was, I cleaned it back. I got my tank sealer, the 2-part one only, right? I mixed it, and I mixed up a coating of tank sealer for the external. I give it one coat, let it dry. 24 hours, I've given it another coat. So I'd started to go back over what was on the base with 2 coats of sealer. Again, as I said to you, tank liners fail or prep because of time. So what I did then was, I've always said I have a clear liner. This one looks like it's a white liner, but it isn't. I painted it on the external. Then I turned it over, and I cut my fiberglass. I recut it all in, and I made a new base completely. So it's all brand new, all cut in, all down. And then the last thing I've done with that is, it's not any colouring in my sealant, because I said I don't do white sealants. I've just put a very fine coat of Amorite on there, over the top, ledged it up. But now I've got, what I did was, when I put this in, I put my first layer in there, and then I put my second layer over the sides, meshed it all in, tacked her up. Now we know we're good. So done that repair, done a full body repair. Also, one of the crossover pipes was blocked when he'd been filling it and gobbering up, so it wasn't working. So I've drilled that back out. They're breathing now. The petrol tap inserts all put in now and laced in, so ready for a petrol tap to go back in it. And though the tank looks a little bit sad now, it's because I've been checking it. Though it's super smooth, this. The next thing I'll be doing is I've just rinsed it out with our Prep 3 with soda, and I've left that in for 2 hours. I've taken it out and I've had our dryer on it, as you saw in the first bit of the video, blowing away for 2.5 to 3 hours. This is a reverse blower. That's the machine there. You can see it today if you just have a quick turn round. Right, 3-stage, one of our big machines, 3 motors, blowing warm air in with the tap off. And that inside now has been degreased with Prep 1. It's been neutralised, it's been washed out, and we're now mid-afternoon. So what I'm going to do is tomorrow morning I'm going to mix in a liner, mix that liner, 2-pack liner into that tank, because remember, this is only the tank, it's only that part. This is just the tail, but before this had all gone. Now, and the neatness of this, we're happy with the underside of this now, because it's had 2 coats. It's had the fiberglass, it's had a coat on top of it, and then a coat just to finish it off. The painter, when he flashes this over, he may do this black, or he might flash it into silver. But as a prep now, when he gets it and the repair done, obviously I'll take a little bit off this for him. It'll be fantastic. And we're starting to get a little bit of weight back in it now, because it's starting to get a little bit rocky, because the initial resin bonding had failed. You could say we're modern fuel, but let's just say the 40 years of age, you know, it's easy to blame fuels. I will say, if you're looking at on the chemistry side, when you look at my Prep 1 and 2, or you look at a sealant, don't worry so much if it says petrol friendly. You want to be looking more for chemical friendly, because there's a pecking order. I said on my videos, petrol's down here, chemical up here, right? So these bonding agencies, especially 2 parts, I love. The only ones I take out are not on fiberglass tanks, but on metal tanks, is usually a single pack one. And I've a couple which are horrendous. The rest are fantastic. So that's just a catch up at where, but this could have been you at home, where you've got your kit and you're thinking, oh, now I've walked into a lot of problems. Because if you're not a bit handy at just getting this and doing a few tricks, you might have a mate who can do it, like now at home, or you might be competent enough to do this kind of job yourself. But that's what you want it to be looking like, and that'll do it. As I say, I've used an internal tank liner as an external feed, so I know it's, you'll say petrol resistant, but it's chemical resistant. So I'm going to move on to a bit of other stuff now. You might like this. Right, so the same customer who's bought that Merlin tank in, he's now dumped his engine in. Now, I will be doing the frame for it and everything else. So as I said, this is a mag wheel version. If we just spin the camera to the side there, that's one of mine, which is the Merlin sports wheeled. So it's the same engine, as you can see, same frame. Now, they're a bit trial bikey. And he's bought this for trials riding, so he's going to upgrade it, like we do with our TLRs. And I just thought, if there's some TLR 200 men watching as well, I'll catch up on a little bit more. But we're going back. So this is his Merlin engine. So Caliva engines, I mean, basically, they were like when Bull Taco finished and that, there was a crossover. And it was started up by a relation, apparently. And I mean, the engines are 350 engines. Apparently, they're bomb-proof. I haven't actually stripped any, but that had been in a crate, the one over there, for 25 years, and we took the carb off it, cleaned it out. About 10 kicks, and she was purring. She was lovely. A very strong motor. So what he's done is bought this bike. It's had a leak on the petrol tank. He isn't phased with doing trials bikes, so we've done some cracking stuff up for him. And he likes them to a nice standard. Now, he's happy. He's only rode it around his garden, but straight away he knows it's all there down below. and there's no nasties. But when they're coming blind like this to me, you will look at it, because you'll see when that tank's finished, now it gets painted, or the finish we do, obviously these TLs in, he likes a really good standard. So we start off with the engine then, so the lump itself. So the last few nights I've been on the internet, especially on tracking down spares, and some of these things with projects aren't they easy. You spend more in restoration. I will be doing a bike where, say, this is the start of a restoration, and you look at the man hours out of work time, as you all know, restoring motorcycles. So we had a quick chat with it, but one of the good things, it's not good for him, but good for me, is one of my favourite jobs is, if you've seen any videos, I like replacing fins on barrels. And the more awkward they get, I like them. Now, these are extra thick. They're like planks of wood. But it will get a close-up in a minute. It's knocked a massive lump off one of these. And I can get, when I go down to fine pins like these, if this fin was off here, all these fine ones, I can micro pin these, pin it back on, put it on without an horrible weld, and change it back to this. It's not an issue. So this one, as you can see, that is a chunk off. It's a big boy chunk. And while we're at it, we'll just show you this smash into alloy. So it's quite a big delve, this. So what you're going to see with this engine, we've had a chat, and obviously you can't start putting engines into media and blasting them. And I say this all the time, because everybody just wants their engine blasted and think you're just going to paint it. It has to be in parts. So we're happy enough to say that the bottom end is okay due to the customer and trying the gearbox. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the top end off it, which you'll see me just stripping it off. Simple job, 5-minute job to take it off. And we're going to measure the piston, have a look at the rings, and see what state it's in, what bore it's on, if it's on an oversize or standard or whatever. And then we'll track down the piston rings, or a set of rings for it. I think the gasket set's going to be one of the hardest things to get. And then I'm going to start looking at the casing. So I'll tell you what I'm going to do with it. Right, so what we've decided to do, I'm going to take the head off, barrel off it, inspect it as I've just said, but we're going to take this cover off, and where the gear lever's gone down, it's pushed it in at some point. So I'm going to get some warmth on that and take that out. But because the substrate on this, meaning scarring and everything else, when you coat with ceramic coating, you don't have the luxury of a primer. So in this case, he likes his casings really nice. So what I've said we'd do on this, I'll take this dent out and I'll show you this case. I'll do each bit as we go along with it. I'll take that case off. I'll take that great crease out of there. I'll tidy these up with diamonds around the edge. We'll take his sticker out the side, because I think we'll still be able to get them. And I'm going to zinc coat it first. I'm going to powder coat it. But I'm not, though powder coating is powder coating, it's still like getting in the bath with your wellies on to me. It's just that feeling. Unless you're looking at that frame I've done there. Look at that finish of that one, TLR 200. So that's been dipped, belt sanded, zinc coated, top coated, wet on wet lacquer. And it's like, you'd think I'd painted that. Sieve paint, sieve powder, immaculate. That's how we do them all. That's showtime. That's how they should be. Don't want to see any orange peel anywhere. So I'll zinc coat this and powder it. And then once I've zinced it, I'll be able to see if there's anything in it and just tweak it and then powder it. And I think we'll do that in a satin powder. I'll do the other side in a powder, the clutch cover. And then we'll do this head and barrel in this velvet, black velvet, and then I think we may polish the fins up. But as you can see, that's nearly 4.5 inches of fin missing, quite substantial. But I ain't bothered where they are. They are there to get to. I love them to do them, you know. So that'll be one project on this engine at this stage, and I'll keep talking you through it. Just visual signs again. A lot of the times when we're doing older bikes up, I always send the stators off, or electronic ignition, or the stators off of just standard practice. Because what happens is, you're not only getting everything checked out, because it may be one of the faults when you put them back together, intermittent spark or coughing, you know. But look at like this lead here, you know, look here, it's like a pancake. It's gone from 5 mil to nothing. So it's been trapped under some at a frame. So when I listen to it, crack, she's lost it. So water, moisture, arcing across. So when I take the stator off, this will be on electronic ignition, we'll just have it checked. And at the same time, it'll come back. I mean, I could do these myself, but to be fair, having it checked out at the same time is fantastic. Re-sleeved, and then when we plug it back in, you know we're not going to have and they look horrible like this. So that's the start of that engine. So that's a 350 Gaviva engine. So it's, I mean, they are the bulletproof, but a lover rate kind of bike. Mag wheels on a trials bike's a bit weird. There was a bit of thing with the ACU at one point when if you put your hands through them, you know, like the sprockets on the back at Charles bikes, now the blank tub, a minder might catch his hand. Imagine a mag wheel. So we're going to do a few more bits, well, a lot more bits. We're going to rebuild the bike back up again. So you'll follow that one through. So when I was talking about that zinc, and I noticed you were looking across here, I could just sense it. And I can't work out what you're looking at. These TLRs here, I think it was this zinc of this TLR air filter box, wasn't it? I'm getting a lot of these now. Aluminium. The planters. I'm going to put that one up there, I think. Yeah, you weren't looking at that. You were looking at these, weren't you? You're looking at the real ones, what are on bikes. And this one up here. It can warrant a Yoshimura sticker on it. Because we know what happened in here, you see. Not only that, but we've had it to air technology, and we've had it on special flow meters and everything. And we've even had one of them, but we never talk about them anyway. So we're back onto these. I'll show you more. This one, we've managed to salvage it. It's fine. It's fantastic. But someone's got rid of the fluted honeycombs there and decided to drill some more in here. But we can cover them because you've just seen our plastic we're making. The 1-2 back, the black vid, that'd be great for that. Put a plate on that and then restore this back. So if you've got any of them out there, caress them, I tell you. A few years' time, they'll be worth a fortune. So, right. So, our TLR. So there's another couple of things as well is, if you've bought one of these molested or got these different things on, or okie dokie carburetors or itchy fanny Chinese things, which we just throw in the bin, obviously, you would look at the manifold, the original Honda manifold. There's so much goes on in that. You might have got something like this, the ones where even the O-ring is lower than the actual edge, you know, and but of course it's bigger. Just all you got to worry about is the inlet valve. We'll concentrate on inlet valves, big inlet valves. We just give that a tweak in ours, and I'm going to ceramic coat that as well with a piston coat. Bit of airflow as well into that big valve there. So yeah, we're getting a few of these things now, but they go in that pile. Another thing, when I was on last time, I was on about our float balls, how we ceramic coat. A few people didn't get it actually. Basically, the float bolt sits there off the cylinder head. Used to dry these out to one of the on the cuffs, and I think a few people couldn't get my North Yorkshire accent, because we've got a few Southerners now, and they've been fantastic with some of the remarks and jokes. They all think I take the whippet for a walk first thing and let pigeons out. But it's all a bit of banter. Fantastic. So I don't think they got my accent really. So basically all it was, there used to be a membrane down here you could get, which actually came out on an Honda spreadsheet in 1977. Because as I say, I used to PDI these things new. And it just the heat dispersant from there. But the trouble is, when you get this thing here, you can't flick your float ball off on some of them. So that's one I do in the workshop to keep it down a little bit. But also I'm doing, because we do a bit of bling custom, I'm doing that colour at the front So that's been taken back to accept that colour. And then if you get on the light there, I don't know, can we see that? Is that a shine? Right, a bit of a shine, isn't it? So you can have that on there. And I know what you're thinking. It's a bloody trials bike, right? Why does he do all this? Longevity. Apart from that, these are bespoke and built. When that goes in here with a different box in it and all tweaked up and done there, that powder chrome's looking quite nice as well. We won't say it's chrome, we'll just say it's high silver. So this is starting next week now. I've just chromed them up, chrome powder, not chrome. We know it ain't chrome. So that's it. The valves I'm still doing, obviously. So I think that's covered a few things. The last thing we'll do is we'll just go back to the first bench, and you know that bit of black I've just poured in, because we'll see if it's set off. Because as I say, I use that every other week. The super glue I just showed you with an activating, I'm using it all the time. And in that air filter box there, I'll be using both them. And the quick fixes, which cost you pennies. So let's go and have another look at that if it's dried off. So the first part of the video, I'm going back to this panel now. We've only been, what, 20, 25 minutes? And that black has instantly sealed. Where I put that patch on there now, you've no chance, you'd crack the panel. Two easy fixes for pennies, but I use them all the time in a restoration workshop. The last thing I'll just tell you is on wheels, when I go back to that chrome powder effect, which I've been using now for 3 years, but not out in the retail sector because we've been trying it. Because when you got it in as a base primer colour, you put it on, it dulled down because we was powder coating it on top with a clear coat powder. The last 6 months I've been doing it with a ceramic lacquer paint, and I put it over it, and I found the gloss values of the chrome is a lot higher. So we've got a piece on the roof now, getting a bit of UV on it just to see, and go from there. So what I'd do with this is I'd take this down, I put the chrome on the base of this particular colour, like the Rossi colour, and then I top coat it in this colour and then lacquer it. So chrome base, top coat, clear coat. The Repsol type wheel, I do there is I take it back, do all the substrate, any curb rashes as usual, and then I'll base that, I'll zinc coat that, top coat powder, then clear coat lacquer on top. So you're getting a 3-stage, but this one we use the chrome underneath. Oh, and there's one up there, you might just be able to see it. It's a reddish candy, right? And that red candy as well, I use the chrome base for that. So as usual, I hope you like that one. I'm going to keep running with different videos and try and keep it as entertaining as I can. If you like it and subscribe, fantastic. Any comments? We're in Scarborough, North Yorkshire, 01723 370 399. As I say, and always will do, we will get back to you with any questions, no matter how bigger we get on this channel. We're trying to grow it. You can phone the office after 3 and speak to me. Any emails we'll get back to you on. And I've just been told that the stickers are nearly ready. So what we're going to do is we're just going to get them here, show you them. And if there's any subscribers that'd like some for the toolbox or the fairings, you can give us a shout and we'll send them out free to you. And no matter how big your project is, how small it is, you can either send it to me, I'll sample it, I'll try it. There's always a plan B. We're a little bit different in this workshop because we've been restorers as well. You're always on the verge of thinking, what shall I do? Where shall I start? How can I do it? And as I always say, if you can do things at home and you sat there going, well, I do that already, fantastic. It's just that sometimes when you're surrounded with soda blasting, walnut blasting, vapor blasting, cannons polishing, 6,000 watt ultrasonic, you know, and you've got the ovens and everything else, modifying frames, you've probably got a bit more. We've got a bit more workshop facilities, but just give us a call. So till the next one, thanks very much. Do appreciate it.